The Subaru Outback makes for a very capable and practical family vehicle for a ton of different people, whether you're a single adventurist or you have a few kids and you need room to put them in the back and all-wheel drive to get you through all of your adventures. The Wilderness package chops your fuel economy and adds cheesy badging all around the car. Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and today we're going to head out and see what sort of fuel economy we get with the 2022 Subaru Outback Wilderness Edition. Before we get started, let's hop out and take a look at it. I'm going to be upfront and honest with you all, full disclosure. I'm not a big fan of the Outback. I like it in principle. I like the idea that you've got all-wheel drive, you've got a little bit more of a lifted form factor, plenty of practicality, decent amount of room, and honestly decent materials all throughout the car. I'm fine with all that. I don't like the powertrain. I don't like the CVT transmission. I know it's redundant. Paired up with the turbocharged 2.4 liter engine. We'll talk a little bit more about that from behind the wheel, but this Wilderness Edition, or Wilderness, is it Edition? Wilderness, just a Subaru Wilderness. Outback Wilderness. It has all these cheesy little badges and gold accents. It raises the ride height. This has a ton of ground clearance. And it puts these silly white wall, or at least white lettered wheels. It's just not my cup of tea. It really isn't. Not only that, but this one gets, I think, 4 miles per gallon lower than the same powertrain non-Wilderness. So it's got to be for a specific sort of buyer. I guess for the right person, this is totally a fine car and might even be really cool to you. It's just, don't buy it if you just plan on taking it to Starbucks. That's all I'm saying. So anyway, if you do want to see more on the Subaru Outback, we have some videos already on the Onyx XT edition that we drove last year, and then Mr. Brower will be doing a DM test drive on this, and we're going to be reviewing the sound system again. So if you do want to see all those, check the links in the description. But for today, we're doing the fuel economy. Why do we do this test? Well, the EPA's highway fuel economy test, which gives this Wilderness Edition 26 miles per gallon, that test only averages 48 miles per hour. We know there are people who take their vehicles on long road trips and would like to know what sort of numbers you can realistically expect here in the real world. So in order to test that, we're going to head out on the highway, do 100 miles, come back, fill up at the same pump using the same 3-click fueling method, and get a result. We're going to try a new gas station today. I don't know how well it's going to go because we do need to use the same pump before and after, but we're going to roll the dice because that Shell station is just getting too expensive. A few things to note: outside temperature is 36 degrees Fahrenheit. Tire pressures have been set to the door placard, 35 psi front and 35 front, 33 rear. And we're going to have the climate control set at 73 degrees auto. All right, let's hop out and fill it up. And then I'm putting in about 3 gallons for our first fill. And before we start the engine, we've got our GPS reset. We're also going to reset our trip computer. We're ready to begin. Please excuse the fans running at full tilt there for auto mode. Only a few different drive modes in the Outback. At least in this one, you've got snow and dirt, normal, and deep snow and mud. So we're going to just run this test in normal. We're going to head on over to the highway. It's about half a mile away. Pick up the test from there. The goal of this test isn't to hypermile. We're not trying to get the best possible fuel economy number, but rather a realistic number for this car. In order to do that, we're going to get up to highway speed here at a reasonable pace and set our cruise control at a GPS indicated 72 miles per hour. That should allow us to average 70 over the whole test. Feel that surge of power come on as the CVT tries to pair up with the turbo. This thing's just all over the place. You can have more power at 1500 RPM sometimes than you do at 3000. It's very hunty and not linear. Sometimes you'll be doing much faster than you expect because it's just you don't accelerate. The car doesn't feel really like it's accelerating. You look down, you're doing much quicker than you realized. GPS seems to be working again. For those of you who watched the Grand Wagoneer video, neither of our Android phones worked for the GPS. They just completely would not sense the speed, not pick up any sort of navigation whatsoever. But working fine again in here. Speedometer looks quite accurate, actually. That's impressive. Initial highway impressions, do feel and hear those tires just a little bit. Let's see, wind noise doesn't seem too bad. Hear the engine a little bit as well. Mostly just hear these fans. So we're going to continue on with the rest of the test and catch up with you at the end. In the meantime, enjoy this time lapse of the entire trip. Coming into the end of the highway fuel economy test here in the Outback Wilderness, there's something wrong with the automatic climate control. I don't understand what it is. I noticed a little bit driving it around yesterday that even at 73 degrees with only one fan level, I was really hot. The air was just pumping heat at my feet and I was uncomfortable, but I kind of wrote it off. Today, driving around doing this test at 73 degrees auto, it's got to be over 80 degrees in here. It's so uncomfortable that I'm actually going to have Chris Brower, who's driving this afterward, I'm going to have him drive around with a thermometer inside here because I'm curious how hot it's actually getting. Today we're out driving the Subaru Outback Wilderness, and while I was testing it, I noticed the auto climate control goes way too hot. So 73 on the car, we're already at 75. We're going to see how hot it gets over this hour-long drive. Toasty. We are up to 79, and Chris is not enjoying this. Sweat much. So 73 on the car, full auto, 79. And it's not in the sun either, it's been sitting right here. And it's blasting heat out of these vents. Not out of these, but... Oh yeah, why is it coming out up there? I definitely think this is broken. I don't think this is standard Subaru spec.
I think it is.
It looks like we are topping out about 81 degrees, even though we have the car set at 73
but Charlie,
auto.
There's so much gold in here, Charlie.
That's what it must be. It's heating us up with all the gold. So much. Anyway, aside from that, and aside from the not very good sound system that we just tested, we are getting not very good fuel economy, just under 26 miles per gallon, according to the car's trip readout. If there's any solace, the active lane keeping does work decently well, and the adaptive cruise is pretty nice too because it has this feature where you can adjust the aggressiveness, cruise control, acceleration characteristics from Eco, Comfort, Standard, and Dynamic. Really, in theory, I should have had it on Eco, but I kind of just left it on Standard because there wasn't too much traffic anyway. We have averaged 70 miles per hour, so we're going to get back to the pump and fill this up and see what sort of number we can calculate. 3.920 is our final fill up, so 102.1 divided by 3.920 is giving us, look at that, 26 miles per gallon flat. Very accurate with what the car came out to at the end of 25.9. And right on EPA as well, so got to give Subaru credit for that. They put an 18.5 gallon fuel tank in here, so 18.5 times 26 miles per gallon is giving you an effective highway cruising range of 480 miles here in the Subaru Outback Wilderness. So, all of that is to say, this isn't just an appearance package by any means. This is getting you more off-road chops. So unless you're really putting the Outback to regular off-road usage, like I'm talking crawling over logs and rocks and like doing legitimate off-roading, which this car is capable of, don't bother with this. Don't do it just because you think it looks cool. You like the silly little flaps and the things in the seat back. I mean, you're sacrificing significant fuel economy just to get this package. So by all means, if it's something that you really need the vehicle for and you don't want a RAV4 Adventure for some reason, you'd rather have this, go for it. But I would be getting the normal Outback or something completely different entirely, like a RAV4. But thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on the Outback, check the links in the description, and we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.